Welcome to this special on the road edition of the Third Chair. We filmed this down at the Lightspeed Art Gallery. My partner Doug happened to be out of town on business, and so Doug the producer, and myself interviewed a couple of artists. We will meet Richard, who's actually a middle school teacher who does metal art, and also we will talk with Matthew, a trained a singer and performer who has turned photographer and has put out some amazing work. So we're excited to see both Matthew as well as, who's the first one again? Richard the metalworker.
The middle.
It's Peter here from the Third Chair. We're down here. What's the name of this place? Lightspeed?
Lightspeed, yeah.
Lightspeed. You know, I kept calling it Speedlight, and no wonder I couldn't find it.
Right.
And we're here with Richard Lorenzen.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, well, thank you. I bet people call you Lorenzo a lot.
I'm a teacher, and so that's the most common default by kids is Mr. Lorenzo.
That's a really common name of a character on TV. I think that may be part of it.
That might be it.
So, what do you teach?
I teach, right now I'm teaching middle school STEM and STEAM. So that
Okay, I know STEM, but what's STEAM?
STEAM is STEM with the arts.
Okay,
Is the
that's
arts.
good.
Yeah.
You know, I got like multiple science degrees, but I feel strongly that arts are a real important part, even for developing a brain for science.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and yet unfortunately it seems like music programs get cut and things like that, and yet there's a lot of evidence. You know, you want to help someone with their math. Get them playing the trumpet, you know, or the light.
Yep.
Have you found that to be the case as well?
Absolutely. So I'm actually a science teacher, agriculture teacher.
Oh, wow.
Turned science teacher, turned industrial arts teacher, now STEM is the term for industrial arts and trades. But
Okay.
yeah, I guess what draws me to it is getting kids working with their hands, and that translates to understanding how the world works.
For sure. There's a famous book. I don't remember who it's by, but it's called something like "Shop Class is Soulcraft." Yeah, and it's a real interesting story. A guy had a PhD in economics at a think tank, and he decided to open a motorcycle repair shop.
I've read it.
Yeah, you've read it.
Yeah.
Crawford is it?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Damn, I'm doing well for a Friday night.
It's still early.
Yeah, it's still early. You know, but I believe in them, and you know. As well as I think that there are students that should seriously think about pursuing the trades. You know, you can do real well as a plumber or an electrician. And, you know, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your art a little bit. So you do metalwork? Is that your main genre?
It is, yeah. So before I started this job, in the last 7 years, I was teaching metal shop.
Okay.
For high school kids. And I was pushing kids to, they're always like, what should I make? What should I make? It's like, well, how about some art? And so I started really pushing them to art. And then I started getting into making art for family and friends. And it kind of came to, you know, I could probably do a lot more with this. I had a really good friend. At the point I kind of decided I was going to start to try to make a little bit of a living out of this. He said, I just bought this house. I have this amazing space above my fireplace. I need a piece of art.
Oh, cool. Your first commission.
First commission, yeah.
Beautiful.
She wanted a bike. And so we were just talking about the bike sculpture up there. And so that was the original bike. It was for her.
What kinds of metals do you come out?
So almost exclusively sheet metal for my art. But I also do a lot of structural work and custom furniture. And so I get more into sectional steel as well with that. So railings and tables and.
Can you do like I've seen those like metal rockers?
Oh yeah.
Is that something that would be
Yeah,
your belly with?
I've never done that, but
But
yeah.
I bet you're quite capable.
Yeah, that's something that we could do. Yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds really cool. And so, what's the most difficult project for you that you've ever done?
Yeah, so I've done 2 different projects that I've built off-site. One was a really cool railing project, and it was in Denver. So I went up and measured and took pictures and designed it, and I even took pieces up there before it was intact. It's like, okay, this fits, I can change this. I got it all together, took it up there, and it was the angle down the steps. It didn't hit it right. Yeah, so I ended up actually taking my welder up there and we cut it up and rebuilt it on site. But yeah, the off-site stuff, it's very challenging to have the measurements and look at it and say, oh yeah, I measured this, I know what this looks like, and then actually make that piece and set it on there, and it's like perfect fit.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm now envisioning like at your home, you've got like all this welding equipment and sheet metal cutting tools and
Yeah, well, partly. So when I was teaching at the school, I had equipment there that I could use, and then I quit that job, and now I work out at Kilroy's, which is a makerspace on the east side of town.
I've heard the name of it.
Yeah, so they have a great shop, so I earn time there. And I have a welder and a small shop in my garage, but they have a big CNC cutting table. They have a really elaborate shop out there, actually. They do a lot of forging and 3D printing.
I was just going to ask you.
But I go in there to use their CNC cutter, so that's where I do
Is that a laser cutter?
It's a plasma cutter.
A plasma cutter?
Yeah.
Feels like something constructed.
Right? Yeah, so it's really cool. But yeah, so my drawings all start on paper, and then I digitize them, and then the machine takes that and does all the dirty work.
So do you have to learn to use CAD and those kinds of things?
Yeah.
See, this is really, I really appreciate you sharing this kind of stuff because there's a lot of technical know-how into actually being an artist.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed from several interviews we've done is that people are constantly doing workshops and learning new techniques and very much this, I guess people sometimes have the stereotype, oh, you're just born an artist and it all flows and it's like, no, you haven't done things that look horrible and learn your lesson and study and ask questions and have mentors and do all those things. Artists should have a little get more respect.
Yeah. I'm with you. No, but you know what? On that note, though, what I found by getting into the community here in Colorado Springs is it is very welcoming, and it's really been quite amazing. The places that I would never have thought that I would ever have art hanging anywhere in a public place, and it's been amazing. The community here is amazing.
Do you do any other type of artwork? Do you play any instruments? Or
No. I do. Everything starts on paper, so I do love to draw. That's probably original passion as an artist. Just drawing, sketching. So I've been actually being more conscientious about keeping my sketch work because I think that might be something too that people would be interested in.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
2 birds with 1 stone for the project, and then you can make a compendium or something.
Right.
Sure, that's good thinking.
Yeah.
That's good thinking. What do you see as sort of the next step to, or do you think of it that way? You seem very scientific and logical. Do you have a sort of a next step to take it to the next level?
Well, not a solid plan, no. But I am getting close to retirement, so I guess part of the thought around this, making this more than just a hobby, was maybe this is something that can sustain me in retirement. So, being able to show in a place like this and just getting people's eyes on my art is very encouraging. That this is something maybe I can really do, and something that I find a lot of passion and joy from. So I really hope it does turn into something that is more of a consistent.
Do you ever have parents saying like, I'm just worried about my kids being around all these sharp metal, sharp tools, sharp objects?
Well, I tell you what,
something sort of safe.
there is, but I taught wood shop for many years too, and the wood shop's a whole lot scarier than the metal shop.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree. You have to kind of work at it a lot harder to hurt yourself from metal. Yeah, but wood, you can run that saw, right through a finger so easily.
Yeah, but it's always a lot scarier in the wood shop than the metal shop. But yeah, there's always a few parents, but most parents are really happy their kids are in the shop space, and they're actually learning to do something with their hands and thinking creatively.
And like we talked about earlier, I do think it's good for the brain. Even if they go on to be an engineer, it sure doesn't hurt them.
Yeah. I was teaching a class at the high school. It was the end of the 4 years of the engineering track, and the fourth year they had to come into my shop for the whole school year, and they had to go through the entire design process, come up with a need and design, and then they had to go in the shop and learn how to build it. And that's a valuable experience for an engineer.
That's really important. You have to learn to do that, and then self-evaluate what went wrong, and go back and keep doing circles until you have it right.
Exactly.
It's so important for real life. What advice would you give parents if they have an inkling their kid has an interest in cutting up metal or that sort of thing?
I'm teaching at a middle school right now, and we're lucky because we have 3 different programs. We have a wood shop, my program, which is including a metal class, an agriculture class, and a transportation class, basically. And then we have another lady teaching robotics and 3D printing.
Oh, wow.
And it's just encourage the kids to go and, spend 18 weeks of your life to find out if you have an aptitude for something or not.
And the worst thing will happen is you'll learn a lot and have fun.
Yeah.
Even if you decide it's not for me.
Yeah.
Some of the worst advice, I happen to go to medical school, don't hold that against me. But come 11th grade, all the advisors said, you don't have time for music, you don't have time for this. You just need more math, calculus, science, physics.
Yeah.
And looking back, it was really bad advice.
It's break time, but we'll be right back.
I played the trumpet and the clarinet and the guitar and stopped it all in the name of, learning more math. And I kind of regret that. And I wish, if I had a message to pass along, it would be don't deprive even the people that are clearly going to be science nerds, art.
Yeah, I agree. There were so many kids I had at high school their senior year. I'd get them first semester and like, man, I wish I would have known about this sooner.
Yeah, and you just don't know down the road when you have stressful times if you can play an instrument or something. It's just you have so many more creative coping outlets that you don't realize you've just closed off. Of course, on the other hand, you can pick it up as an adult too.
That's a good thing.
For sure. Do you still do any woodworking?
I do. A lot of my furniture is metal, wood on metal frames. So yeah, I still get to dabble a little bit in shop too.
Wow, that sounds really cool. Have you ever had what would you say your favorite movie is and why?
I don't know. I watch a lot of movies. My wife and I are very much into movies. I guess one that comes to mind is Cloud Atlas. Alice.
Cloud Alice. I don't think I've even seen
Yeah,
it.
it's Tom Hanks, but yeah, I think it was kind of obscure. It's kind of a artsy piece, I guess. I don't know the right genre for it, but it's I don't know how to explain it. The characters come back in different time periods as different characters.
A little bit of a Doctor Who.
Yeah, but it all, one of those things where it all weaves together in the end, and it's, I don't know, it's a love story, and it's just a story of like serendipity and a story of good versus evil, and I don't know, it's one of our favorite things to watch. So that would be high on my list.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
What about favorite book?
Well, I tell you what, I love to read books that are like outdoor adventure, like actual accounts. And I have a good friend who likes similar books, and we just got together about a month ago and exchanged what we've been reading. And he suggested Endurance, which is the John Shackleton journey to Antarctica.
Was this like the 1800s?
Yes.
Oh, where,
It's a story. They failed, but they all survived.
yes.
They lived for like 2 years out on the ice in Antarctica and had to find their own way back before there was radios or powered vehicles or anything like that.
Or help coming.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's what's fascinating.
It was an unexpected story. I knew of it, but I didn't know the story of it. And I guess what I've been thinking a lot about because of that is just how pampered we are as people, and how unfathomable it would be for people to think to sign up for something like that in the 1800s to go on a ship to Antarctica and be strong enough to survive everything they went through.
Yeah, boy. It sounds like there could be some valuable lessons for us all.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly make the case that life is relatively easy.
Yeah.
There's some people that struggle more, but for the most part, you don't have people starving to death in the United States.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of just the kids I see every day and how, compared to even when I was a kid, how different life is. How I grew up on a farm, so my life was different than the kids I teach, but
my personal thought on that is that kind of experience is really missing. Seeing the cycles of life and that sort of thing, and the idea that it's George.
even walking to school, so few kids even walk to school. There's the line of cars outside of the school at 8 in the morning is incredible. And some of those cars are from like around the block. It's just the fact that kid doesn't have that chance to be independent, where they simply have to get from their back door to the school and whatever adventures might lay in between.
I mean, I've got 4 kids. There's always a certain degree of paranoia over being safe, but you have to let kids cautiously do things that have some risk, with appropriate supervision. I grew up in Vancouver, BC, 2 million people. And I would tell my parents, hey, I'm getting on my 10-speed bike. I'm going to ride 20 miles into the, it wasn't probably 20 miles, but 7 miles to the city center and have a lunch in Chinatown and ride back. And they were like, do you have a dime for the payphone? Otherwise go. Call us if you need help. But they were, it was just a little bit different attitude then. Yeah,
Certainly.
And so, how do people contact you? Let's suppose someone wants a metal mermaid or something.
Sure.
Yeah. What's the best way to find you and send you a note?
Yeah. So I'm on social media. Facebook and Instagram are both Lorenzen Customs. So at Lorenzen Customs.
At Lorenzen Customs.
Yep. Also, you can email me at that same address at gmail.com. Or you can check out my website, which is lorenzencustoms.com, and that's the best places to see the different types of stuff that I do.
Cool.
So
So you got some sample projects up there.
Almost everything I've done is photographed and on there. So 90% of what you'll see on there is commissioned work. So don't think if you see that's all that you can do. I thrive personally when I talk to someone and they have this idea in their head about I have this thing or this memory or this person likes this, and I love to take that and come up with ideas and say, what do you think about this? That's my greatest joy in this, is seeing people when I show them something and be like, oh my God, that's exactly what I had in mind, or that's amazing. That is what brings me the most joy from doing this.
That is so cool. You clearly have to bring the logic and the engineering to it, but also the translation of an artsy idea. Yeah, that's
it's so much fun. That's the best way to describe what I do. Is it's so much fun.
Do you do? And I don't want this to sound the wrong way. Do you do more mundane? Maybe the wrong word. Suppose someone wanted a homemade metal trowel with maybe a dog's head on the end or something. Do you take on things as small as that?
In fact, I just finished a commission. It's a register vent, a heating vent, and she wanted a trout that's jumping out of the floor.
Wow.
Yep, so it's a heating vent. We did a custom grate behind it, and it's a trout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and I've done simple hand railings for your front steps. So, yeah, I'll entertain the ideas.
Well, that's great. And do you respond to messages relatively quickly? It seems like you're probably a busy guy. You get back to people in a day or two.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Richard, for taking the time. And,
I sure appreciate it.
Well, you've been delightful, and we're really excited to see what kinds of works you put out down the road.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Richard.
Interesting man. Did he say that 90% of his business is commissions?
I don't recall the exact number.
I heard 90% somewhere
He
there.
does a tremendous amount of commission.
That's
and is really good at
interesting.
translating what someone wants into something that'll look great.
That's an
Yeah.
art form in itself.
Right, but
It's not always easy to do that.
yeah, I guess and that's interesting that it's commissions, because all the artists make all their money from selling stuff. But the difference with a commission and just a regular sales is you ask someone to make what they want ahead of time and you sell it, versus just general sales of whatever else you've got on stock. But yeah, so commissions, that would be pretty high. A lot of people obviously
Probably can ask for, I don't know, a little bit more money, because you gotta, I would think, to make it something they want and still be creative with it is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, that would be
Present.
hard, because then you are on something that's more subjective in nature, trying to figure out what they want, as opposed to if you're making your own piece,
right.
you make it and say, this is my piece. You either like it or you don't.
Right. Well, that's why you always collect the money up front. If you're doing commissions, or at least half of it.
And
Yeah.
never tell them where your actual art studio is.
No. I've had several people ask me for to do videos of me just talking, and they're willing to pay me money.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, in 2021,
You
I
know-
think you made $16 from this show.
I know. I've done a couple of voiceover projects. As a matter of fact, my very first gig doing a voiceover thing. It's really a story. I do medical voiceover work, and it's like July the 3rd, and I'm literally about to go out the door camping with my wife, and I check my email, and I've got this email from Britain. And they had said they had a voiceover artist that was going to do this asthma project, and the guy fell through, and they're desperate.
Because he couldn't breathe?
Yeah, yeah, he didn't have asthma, and they said,
How do you know?
Well, I don't know, but I couldn't breathe when I saw their offer either. It was like, and they said, "Is there any way you can pull this off?" And I said, "I don't know. I know a guy that owns a hip hop studio. I'll call him." And I sent him an email and said, "I think I can pull it off and get the files to you in a couple days." And so the day before July the 4th. I go into this hip hop studio and I record this asthma project with a lot of big medical words. And lo and behold, a few weeks later comes this nice juicy check from Britain for the work. And so I'm not really sure the point I'm trying to make with this story. But, when opportunity meets preparation, that's the definition of good luck. Seneca.
Luck is the residue of design. Branch Rickey.
And I've heard that saying somewhere. I think people will hear it again in a few weeks when
Yeah.
we have a filmmaker out of LA on.
Yeah.
Well, actually, hers is a little different.
Yeah, but it was all basically
the same.
Seneca, the Roman philosopher, Stoic. Those Greek Stoics. I think Seneca was. I don't know if he was a Roman or what. Whatever he was.
Peter will give you a free dinner at McDonald's if you call him or send a message when you see the filmmaker and recognize that quote.
Yeah, that episode will be really good. She was really an amazing guest to have. Now, Richard, I must say, not the typical looking artist that you saw down at Lightspeed.
Well, he probably has to be certain requirements probably to be in the classroom as he is in.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this does not sound like a poor school.
No, I don't think so.
Because in middle school, to have that much middle workshops when some schools are struggling to get art things.
But it wasn't really, and I won't say what school system it is, he told me. It's not a rich school system either.
No.
I mean, it's
So
probably
school-
less than District 11.
Yeah, but in sort of
So smart school maybe.
smart school, I mean, he comes across as sort of academically well studied and a little bit more reserved compared to some of our other guests. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong, just different personalities and whatnot.
Definitely a little lower key than Tony from last week.
Very much low keyed, and yet he still had some great points. I'm not surprised that he knew about the book Shop Class's Soulcraft by Crawford. That's sort of a classic about why to continue the arts in high school, middle school. Well read. Had some interesting movie recommendations.
They call out Atlas. It was the movie. I don't think panned out like the studio was hoping. And the author is fairly famous of that. I think his last name's Mitchell.
Mitchell?
Yeah, I've read one of his books. It's different, but it's interesting. He'll tell stories at certain times, and they're vaguely connected.
I couldn't help but thinking when he was talking about that, I kept thinking Atlas Shrugged. When he said
Oh,
Cloud Atlas, I'm thinking
Atlas
Ayn
Shrugged.
Rand and who's John Galt and all that, and so my mind was, and it shows a little bit when I'm talking. You can tell that I'm thinking like, am I even thinking about the right thing? And I wasn't.
Yeah, this is kind of. I mean, there's some interesting writers today that do different experiments and things. And,
Sure,
and this one was one. And I think they tried it with the movie, but it didn't really. I don't think it drew that much. I don't know how good the movie was. The
is this an old movie?
no, it's only like 3-4 years old. I think it came out after COVID, or maybe during COVID. That might have hurt it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the preview looked interesting. It looked interesting.
The Cloud Atlas.
Didn't get good reviews, but sometimes you wonder about the reviewers.
Well, you know,
Sometimes that tells you if the film is good.
well, yeah, you know,
I walked out of some movies and I'm like, holy, I enjoyed like that movie. Yeah, I guess I don't look for like exact things and stuff, or totally script, unless it gets too unbelievable or things like that. Yeah.
well, you know what's ruined some movies for me is because our company's tried our hand at writing movies, and we almost had one made in Hollywood. We came close, but the after you read Save the Cat by Snyder, it's Snyder, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Snyder.
Yeah, that when they break down the exact structure of a movie that's 90 minutes long, and how much of the plot and the A line and B line and C line and how much should
This
be
one
developed.
might have been different. If it's like the book, it might have been different.
Right.
Because
but-
he talked about you had the same actors playing parts in 4 different eras, I think.
well, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
A lot of independent film now too has been able to
Oh.
throw some of the. I mean, you still start with the Save the Cat idea, so you have some structure. But a lot of independent film is okay. We're not doing this for Hollywood. We can do what we want to do.
Well, and that's nice, but
You
you
know,
can't help but notice it though when you
one
see
thing
it.
I like,
By 10 minutes in, oh, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There it is.
Good, Bad, and Ugly is one of my favorite pictures.
Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood.
Yes.
But
But he doesn't save the cat until like 2/3 in the way through the movie.
He doesn't save the cat.
And save the cat means, hey, this guy's nice, so you should cheer for him as a hero. He doesn't do it until the movie's like 2/3.
Well, that was earlier than the Save the Cat content. Back
Yeah,
then
but
it
there was still
Then
something.
the structure then was built on the fact that reels were 15 minutes long, each reel they put in, so they had to do something every 15 minutes to make you stay in the
I
film.
think that's why Hitchcock's in Rope, which we talked about on another show, their longest stretch was only 15 minutes. Where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did it
that
with
was
no
a
cuts.
that was an equipment thing.
Yeah.
You kind of forced writing because of the length of time.
But
you
he
could shoot.
wanted to do the whole movie,
Yeah,
the whole movie in one take.
yeah.
And they
That-
didn't, yeah, and you couldn't, you had to break it into 15-minute segments, and they didn't want you walking out at the end of the first 15 minutes, so they had to keep you. That's where the idea of the cliffhanger actually came up with.
Ah,
And so that was a very interesting guest. He did a
yeah.
very
And
good job
if you're
interviewing.
interested in metalwork, check him out.
Yes.
Metalwork, yeah. So we saw some
Especially if you
amazing
have an
metalwork.
idea like you want one,
Yeah,
this guy can pull it off.
yeah. Definitely. Kudos and shout out to Richard.
Yes,
All right,
thank you,
well-
Richard.
We'll go to a break and have one more artist.
This is Peter here down at Lightspeed, not Speed Light, and I get the mixed up every now and then. And I'm here with Matthew. And Matthew is a local artist, talented artist. What is your main genre?
Right now, it's surreal.
Surreal. You know, I've never totally understood what surreal means. How would you define that?
My words would be more like how I see the world. Letting people see the world through what I see. And how.
Do you have a particular genre or theme that you like to photograph?
Editorial, I think that's beautiful. I prefer photographic girls and dresses.
Girls and dresses. All right.
It's a lot of fantasy stuff.
Sure. And so, what about grizzly bears or
That's especially for money. Well, I could, but the girls.
not so many models willing to stand beside a grizzly bear.
I got some.
It's always good to be well connected. So, before we started the interview, you told me that you had a lot of training, performing music, so, sing?
I do. I haven't sung in a while, but I used to be quite the performer.
So, you kind of keep on singing. What about playing instruments?
Not very good at that anymore.
Yeah, I used to play some clarinet and guitar. And so how did you sort of make the transition from singer, performer, to photographer?
I've always loved photography. That was like on the side. I still sing from here and there, but I guess I still sing, but I just this is brand new thing for me is the photography. I'm showing it out and about because I don't normally show my stuff.
So this is sort of a new step forward, putting it out there. Does it ever make you nervous?
Oh, yes.
You know, I think my daughter's has just finished her first novel. It's a fantasy novel, and I can tell she struggles. I'm going to put it out there, and maybe some people won't like it. You know, there'll always be someone that doesn't like what you do, but there's always lots of people that do. You ever find you've got to deal with those kinds of thoughts or feelings?
I do. I've dealt with a lot of those too, with people responding about my art. But tonight I sold some pieces, which is mind-boggling.
Congratulations. Why is it mind-boggling?
I used to think that people would. I thought that people would buy it. I started anything and thought that people would buy stuff. Very, very blessed.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, lots of people will tell you, hey, I like your work, but it's another thing when they're taking out their wallet.
Right?
Yeah, it's like total commitment.
Are you sure you want to do that?
So then, because that's sort of a new ground for you, do you consider like your photographs, like you have one, and when it's sold, that's it, or do you willing to sell reproductions of that same one? But we're sort of philosophically on that.
Well, I thought about this a lot. So it wouldn't be fair to anyone. Like, it is kind of cool how we have one. I'll keep one for myself. And then out there too. But I thought about that, and I just think it would be a lot more to
Yeah, I mean, I see some people kind of split the difference. I'll say, okay, I've only printed 20 of these, so you can have one of 20 copies. It may not be just the only one, because of that, you still want to make some money, you got bills to pay, just like the rest of us. Now, that's another thing. I don't know if you've thought about this, but there's a book called Art and Fear. It's kind of a classic where the author talks talks about sometimes when a certain type of art that you make sells, it actually begins to pigeonhole you. Because it's like people want a picture of a lady in this dress and this style, and those all sell really well, so just keep making those as opposed to, you know, make something very different.
I guess that comes to that. Well, I get that no commission work.
No commission work.
I'd rather just do it myself. So it's kind of very stressful. Like,
Sure.
people ask me okay, let's try it. Like, you know, so it's sports, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, you still want to sell some, so you make a bunch, and then you got to bring it to, you know, sell it on a website or at a gallery or showing it. Is this the first place that you've had your art, your photos up?
Yeah, this is very, very first place.
Man, this is going to be so exciting for you guys.
It's very, very
A
exciting.
little bit nerve-wracking?
Yes.
Yeah, you're handling the pressure great. You're handling
Without drinking, which is wonderful.
Oh, that more power to you to be able to do that, because occasionally you have to talk to people sober.
Right? I've learned.
Yeah, it sounds like. And so, have you approached any other galleries in town or in Denver?
No, I haven't. I haven't yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, right.
But it sounds like your experience tonight is going to be very encouraging and perhaps a little bit of confidence building that, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, but that's the outcome, the people's response to the pictures have been very, very nice. Very, them being shocked with the stuff I do is very. Yeah, like I have a girl wearing high heels and roller skates.
High heels and roller skates.
Well, the high heels are connected to the roller skates.
Oh, how cool!
And it's just so I don't feel really good to like people see it.
Do you have a title for that one?
I don't.
You know, my gut reaction would be broken ankle.
Right? Right? She's picture, she's. Oh, it's fun. Yes.
How many photos do you have?
No, 14.
14, fantastic. That, you know, for a curator to look at your work and say, I want to have 14 on the wall, that's quite a compliment.
Nerve-wracking. It's great. Yes.
Do you do both color and black and white? And what kind of camera do you use to shoot? Strictly on your phone. We just talked to another photographer who's like, his mind was blown just the quality of like the cameras and the microphones on the iPhone 14 or whatever.
I don't do. I play good friend. Yeah, he does photos.
You do photos as well.
He does camera. He does something stuff. But I just strictly phone. I'm more comfortable with that. Or it's like everything is on it. You know. And I don't use iPhone.
You don't do iPhones. You're not an iPhone guy. So what's the other big brand?
Galaxy.
You have a Galaxy. Okay.
I always say anti.
Do you shoot primarily indoors or like?
I do a lot of like outside. Except weather is my shot. There's a pretty in the background.
Yeah, I just think a great photo would be the woman in the dress with the high heels and the roller skates on one side. Maybe she's actually skating, and a grizzly bear on the other side.
That'd be perfect. Perfect.
Hey, Matthew, thank you for taking the time. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. Do you want people to contact you?
Get a hold of Jessica.
Jessica. Okay.
take a look, and she can pass a message to us. And she's the curator. Yeah, she's awesome. Oh, she's your agent as well. Yeah, she was also my oldest daughter's dance instructor at Pike State. And you're very thanks. Yeah, oh, fantastic. Thank you for your time. A pleasure meeting you as well, sir. And we'll be in touch if you ever want to do longer interviews. We can arrange that. Not only is our YouTube, as I mentioned, put up, but also broadcast locally. So for all right, thank you so much. Good night.
That was Matthew,
Interesting man.
and a photographer.
But who was a singer?
Yes, as a matter of fact, just a subtle point. He trained at the Royal Conservatory here in town, and actually
wow.
my daughters trained for singing and dance and other arty stuff at the same conservatory. Now, I didn't know him or recognize him from the past, but that was a very good program. And it's interesting to see him transition to becoming a photographer.
Yes, and apparently he does it well because, as you said, he had 14 pictures hanging on the wall, and you thought he had sold a couple by
Yeah, I was pretty sure he said he had sold a couple, and the some of them were really spectacular. Some just amazing colors. If I remember correctly, and I don't have my notes in front of me, several of them were of like some very nice ladies and certain kinds of I don't want to say what's the word, burlesque type dresses, but with stunning colors, if I'm recalling correctly. And I think the most surprising thing of the interview, if you had to guess what I thought was the most surprising thing of the interview, he said was,
Oh, what he said?
with respect to how he took his pictures, like on his phone. You know, we had Tony last week who, has all these old-fashioned cameras and whatnot and uses film. And then this guy who's clearly going to be successful, just shooting away on his Galaxy.
Yeah, and that is interesting but people are realizing as they go up, the number of iPhone or Galaxy goes up, the camera gets better a little time.
The microphone as well. You could do voiceover work on it.
And so, I mean, that I don't know if they have a relationship with the camera industry and the film industry, the movie cameras too, but that might be, the phones might be just slowly taking over because people.
You killer phones.
Yeah,
it could be a horror movie.
You're paying up for those cell phones. You don't mind it's doing a lot of different things. Meanwhile, you pay $1,000 for a camera still.
Oh, easy. Easy.
And you better really like the $1,000 camera because.
Well, if you can put it to work and make some bucks.
Yeah.
You can actually pay for your camera.
But not all the. I mean, some people are rich enough they don't have to do that, but
I just pay my monthly bill.
Your monthly bill.
Yeah.
So do you have a $1,000 camera?
I've got an iPhone 12, I think, or 13.
That's not a camera.
And he's also going to start paying our phone bills though.
Oh yeah. Well, and of course that goes along with the whole idea of why more and more films and TV shows and whatnot are being filmed outside of Hollywood, because as a general rule, the technology's advanced, but the cost has gone way down, and now you can afford top-notch equipment that gives you a top-notch product, assuming you know what you're doing, of course. You don't need a $100,000 Hollywood camera.
But I mean, before an amateur had no chance to compete with the picture quality and stuff, so they had to really tell a really good story, and the sound quality and stuff like that. They had to really tell a super story to compete with a mediocre Hollywood movie.
Yeah, well, I think of like the Blair Witch Project as being sort of a prototype.
Yeah, they spent $100.
Yeah, and I think that was to bribe the security guard to let them go in the woods, but yeah.
It made like $250 million in the
Yeah,
first year.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some higher figures attributed to the cost of the movie, but basically, by any definition, it was a
It's
low
kind of
budget
interesting
movie.
because people said, "Well, that was great art," but to me, it was just another horror movie.
Hmm.
You know, and in 100 years, they'll say, "What was the big thing?" Because they want to understand the history behind it.
Yeah.
That it was like one of the first movies. The simple filming worked because the technology was good enough to make it look good enough, even though it would still look somewhat amateurish.
Sure.
Yeah, and then they can always use the excuse, well, it was 3 kids on a, what was it, 3 or 4? 3 kids walking around in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
But it created an entire genre. It's called the found footage genre.
Yeah.
So Matthew was a very interesting guest to talk with, a very pleasant man, and definitely has produced some really amazing looking art. And if you're interested in looking at his art, he says to contact Jessica, the curator at Lightspeed Art Gallery.
Sounds good.
Well, let's take a break and we'll come back and wrap it up.
Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. Well, I enjoyed the episode, Doug, seeing Richard
was
the...
fun to see you doing those interviews and talking to those people, and they were very interesting. Both.
It was very nice of you to send in...
Richard and Matthew.
Richard and Matthew, and it was really nice of you to fly in pizza via drone so that we could party afterwards. We thought that was really sweet of you. And anyways, please...
I was just hoping the drone would hit you in the face, but
yeah.
it screwed up.
Yeah, then I'd become a new Batman character, flat face or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Dick Tracy had flat face or flat head or something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember. Anyways, contact information has been on the screen if you wish to contact either of these artists and their to obtain some of their amazing work. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you know when we've uploaded another episode. Good night.